Hello again. Today we're going to be talking about Egypt. If you pay any attention to the news, you've probably seen Egypt come up a lot lately. This video is for anyone that hasn't been following the story and wants a Cliff Notes version of what's going on. This is by no means a complete analysis of the situation, which is quite complex. If the story interests you, I encourage you to research it further. The roots for the current conflict started growing in 2011 during what is called the Arab Spring. Citizens across the Middle East rose up against the dictators running their countries, and in several cases they were able to topple their governments. Egypt was perhaps the most high-profile example. Egypt was a complicated situation due to its alliance with the U.S. Dictator Hosni Mubarak has had the backing of the U.S. for decades. However, once the protests grew to a certain extent, even the U.S. turned against him. After Mubarak was ousted, the military took control of the country for a period of time. Eventually, elections were held and a democratic government took power. However, this was not the end of trouble for Egypt. The group that gained power during the first Egyptian elections is called the Muslim Brotherhood. The group was formed in 1928 in Egypt, but has developed into one of the largest Islamic movements in the world. The group has been banned in Egypt many times, including under Mubarak. Once Mubarak was gone, the Muslim Brotherhood was the most organized political faction in the country, a fact that allowed them to easily win elections despite being more conservative than the general population. Their candidate, Mohamed Morsi, was elected president. While the Muslim Brotherhood is not as extreme as fringe groups like the Taliban, their conservative ways were not welcomed by Egyptian citizens. Discontent with the Brotherhood grew the entire time Morsi was in office. Protests began, and earlier this summer they grew to the size of those witnessed in the Arab Spring. At this point, the Egyptian military stepped in once again. President Morsi was removed from office and the military retook control of the country. Now, it was the Muslim Brotherhood's turn to protest. It wasn't long, though, before the military began cracking down on these protests. The clashes turned extremely violent this week, and an estimated 800 people have been killed, with thousands more injured. That is what is currently going on in Egypt. As you can see, the fighting there has different foundations than the fighting in places like Syria and Iraq. In those countries, most of the fighting is between Sunnis and Shiites, which are followers of different sects of Islam. The clashes in Egypt are more similar to the political battles in the US between liberal and conservative factions. That's it for today's video. Don't forget to visit northmobilepost.com for updates on the situation in Egypt and other stories, and if you like these videos, please subscribe.